Hey, Alan, it's good to meet you.
Good to meet you as well. Thank you.
So, guys, we wrapped up just the first few sessions here at Qubits 2025, and we're in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I can tell you that there's been some interesting developments today that I wanted to break down very quickly. So, one of the things that's so important about going to these types of conferences is that when you get information about these companies, you start to realize the use cases more efficiently. I didn't realize that qubits or D-Wave would go as technical as they have gone so far just in the first day. So one of the things to realize is the first question we're asking is, they say the company has said that they can increase their efficiency for different problems that they're solving, especially in relation to, let's see, NTT Docomo. So talking about internet connections, they said we increased their efficiency or connectivity by, 15%. And then you also had them say we're improving the efficiency of this Ford Autoson, so the manufacturing and all of the different variables that go into building and fixing all of the different Ford vehicles that go into that plant or that center. And so my question was, is there like any reason why you would use D-Wave as opposed to GPUs or classical computing? Because usually the conversation is there is not a better way to compute these things than with a quantum. Like, that's what they say a lot of times. These are problems that you wouldn't be able to solve with GPUs. Here's what I've found is that they have an advantage in the markets that they can solve problems that aren't unsolvable by GPUs, but would require much more energy expenditure and cost to solve. So in other words, 95% of the types of problems that most people think about, the quantum company isn't your best solution unless you're just kind of doing it for experimental purposes. But in the event that you're in that 5% of highly complex problems, so one of the problems was from Boeing, and Boeing's head of, I think it was technology or what have you, he was an executive, was talking about how their partnership with the quantum computing company started, and that they're just getting started and they're expecting to be able to solve some big problems. The types of problems that Boeing is solving and plans to solve with the quantum computer D-Wave is, for example, you have thousands of variables when you're building an airplane, from the scheduling to the workers that are there to the different parts. There's like 1 million parts. There's the time that it takes to get the parts. There's the cost of the parts. There is the weather, and there is all of these different factors. There's like inspections, and you could just put all these variables and pretty easily come up with millions of potential like paths that a whole building of a Boeing airplane could go down. And the Boeing executive said that almost always they don't complete their Boeing airplanes on time. They're almost always not on time because of all the variables that come up. So the other thing is each variable, this is a really good use case, each variable in a big problem, it has a certain amount of impact on that problem. So maybe someone showing up for work one day isn't that big of a deal, and it's not that big of an impact, but it does have a small impact in the process of building the airplane. However, the reason why Boeing's going with them is because not only do they measure all those things and plan to with the quantum computer, but they also plan to measure the direct impact of all of those variables. So there's other variables that would play a bigger role in the development of an airplane or the building of an airplane. So those are some use cases that I saw. Now, the last thing that I thought like everybody should look at is when you have companies that say, with the language that they were saying, that we will be able to increase efficiency, is different than say we will increase efficiency. When they say we are able to solve these types of problems is different than saying we are solving these problems. So it's important to at least look from an investor perspective at how they say they're solving the problems. I actually came in a little more skeptical in this conference because of the amazing marketing that they have. I wanted to take a step back and say, how this marketing is so good, are the numbers making sense? When they say, it's outperforming the classical computer by, let's say, 1,000% or like 10x, let's say they say 1,000 times. Then my next question is, well, how much GPUs are being used in that classical computer? How much computing power does that classical computer have? And what are you benchmarking or comparing those things to? So that was a good question to ask. And so that was a good piece that we actually got some answers around. And essentially what I learned is that there is a very, very good use case for this quantum computing company, but only for about 5% of problems that big companies face. There's a lot of industries that will see this quantum computing company as a solution that would make sense, but it is only for these industries. You ready? Definitely drug discovery. Okay, so drug discovery that has lots and lots of variables. Think tons of variables. So things related to climate, scheduling or building of very complex things, and definitely related to any type of company that has a huge amount of variables. So those are the types of impacts. Now, one of the people that I was talking to, I was actually sitting next to, was this guy that has, he works for, I think it was, I forget, NetTel, I think it was, the largest student loan place in the world, where they give out student loans, and they have like millions and millions of data points from years and years and years, and they work with the government as well on student loans. And the guy's there because he was a chief technology officer, and he was looking at it and he's saying, we're seeing how we can calculate all of the variables of all of these different student loans that we have out, and be able to organize our data and calculate different projections more efficiently. So that was one of the big things that we saw as well. And we also got to film, it's so cool. I got to see some people that are subscribed to the channel here. That's been so cool. I got to have a quick word with the CEO of D-Wave, as well as get to do a little like podcast here and there with some people that are at the conferences. So that's been really awesome. And I'm really excited that we're able to meet some of you guys that are following the channel and get to meet you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. And again, I'll keep you guys updated on the movements as far as stock price goes, and as far as the potential, let's say we get back to previous highs, or what the volatility looks like. I mean, based on what I'm seeing here, we really want to have a clear look at if they have big dollar amount contracts that come in. That will be a big indicator, as well as watching. Right now their balance sheet doesn't look too bad, so let's see if that revenue continues. The marketing looks amazing. The excitement around the company seems to be steadily growing. The impact in quantum, as far as their approach, seems like they have more of, like, I was looking at it and how I can use this cloud service to be able to optimize my own app that's related to tracking, thousands of different assets at once, and considering, many variables and factors when looking at the markets and investing. So, there's definitely like use cases that I could see in our company that could be big, and we'll be exploring those. Value to society, I would say they're definitely breaking into this industry of where they're in a unique spot, and they're inspiring people to use their quantum computer. And again, 5% of businesses that have very complex problems that they're trying to solve will benefit greatly and value using QBTS or D-Wave's systems. The everyday business owner will most likely not. So then my next question is, if I'm a business owner and I want to use this company and I want to tap in through the cloud, how much money will it cost me to use the company? Now, if it's free, I get it, it's experimental, but that also means maybe they're not getting as much revenue, so that's something you got to look at. if it costs a lot of money, then I'm like, okay, so it's only for higher value premium customers and businesses that would use quantum computing, which could be good, but at the same time have a barrier for people that aren't looking to invest high level and just are kind of experimenting. So one thing that we'll watch closely with, especially with Boeing, the Boeing CEO said, basically he said, quantum is for calculating, and that GPUs are for understanding, or classical computers are for understanding. So in that instance, basically what we're saying is you might be able to look at all your data, you might be able to process a lot of data when you have your GPUs or your classical computing, as most people do. But if you get to a point where you want to, let's say, have a huge calculation to have more predictive analysis of that, then you're now looking at what would be essentially a calculation that's going to require a lot of energy. And if you're going to use a lot of energy and it's going to cost you a lot, and you don't want to pay thousands of dollars to AWS, for example, for the computing power, then using a quantum computer that can calculate those problems at a lower cost makes sense. So the way that they're positioning themselves is a lower cost. I like how the variable that they track, at least what they look for and how effective they are as a company, is what is the cost to get the results? And so I think that's going to be a big factor with AI. A lot of people, like I was running a local model the other day in a demo to see how much power it would cost to get real-time analytics AI-wise on thousands of different assets. And it was running up the bill like well above $1,000 just to get AI analysis on different multiple time frames, so many variables, right? We're talking multiple time frames, considering thousands of different articles, real-time data of those assets and all of those assets. And then it obviously changes from like pretty constant because there's new articles that come out or different events that affect the maybe 1 day outlook or the 6 month outlook or the 1 year outlook. And so when I'm looking at those problems and we were running it, it was costing a lot of money in the spend for the AI. So what we're looking at here is, can we run those problems and not have to spend as much maybe in order to get solutions for those problems by running through the cloud here with D-Wave systems. So that's one of the things we're watching. And again, as far as the price goes for D-Wave, I got to talk with an analyst. He was fairly bullish, but the thing that he said as well was, let's see what the revenue looks like on the balance sheet. He said, right now the balance sheet looks not too bad. What is it going to look like maybe in the next quarter? Is it still improving? And if they start to keep that continued momentum, then the company could see massive growth here in the future. The thing I don't like about these conferences is that there's this mixed feeling about how they have to say something that might be related to some negative connotation of other companies. Now, I get it. You're protecting yourself. You're firing back towards the companies that are saying things about you that you don't want to hear. Like, for example, in NVIDIA's Jensen Huang saying some things about how quantum computing is 10, 15 years away. But then you have now this whole thing where D-Wave is now saying back in this conference multiple times that they don't believe that's wrong. And it's kind of like this fight where all the quantum companies are like, you're not as efficient as us, which I get. It's part of, having the us versus they story that can create like this fire fan base of a company. Like, I get it, but at the same time, when we're looking at that kind of dynamic of a little bit of a negative connotation of other companies, it's important that we don't have spreading of misinformation. There was one thing that I heard said basically they were projecting the quantum market to be up to 9 billion, whereas, for example, if you looked at IONQ or Microsoft, they're projecting in the hundreds of billions of dollars. as far as the types of revenue. So, and millions. And then the other thing is some, quantum qubit, 2-gate qubit companies like IONQ and Microsoft at CES, for example, were saying, oh yeah, we're expecting to have error correction in our quantum computers by the end of this year. Whereas in this conference today, I'm hearing that the quantum annealing D-Wave is saying that error correction on the 2-qubit gate quantum computing is many, many, many years away. So do you see how it's like D-Wave is saying like that's many years away, and then other companies are pointing at D-Wave and saying that's many years away, but then they're like, we're doing it right now, or we're doing it by the end of this year. And so there's this like where they project their own projections of another company based on their data points, and then another person has their data points. And so the biggest thing I'm asking today is, when they say they increase efficiency or they increase profitability or reduce downtime, what are the benchmarks and how much improvement is there year over year? Or what is the basic? It's like when you say quantum versus classical. That's the other question. It's like, okay, how are you measuring the classical? Is it like 1 GPU? Is it like 1,000 GPUs to put together? That's what I'm asking, because I'm like, oh yeah, like there's different levels of computation power in classical computers. But what I'm seeing though is that the quantum computers in general have way more processing power to be able to calculate than with less energy demand and cost. That is a fact, and I believe that to be true. Just based on the amount of energy that goes into producing GPUs or like powering them versus how much energy goes into creating a quantum computer and powering it. So that's what I've come to the conclusion with here. Now, one of the things that I want you guys to know is we go live in the morning at Market Open. And if you want to see how we trade, I was just talking with an analyst this morning when we were here in the breakfast time. Actually, it was actually in the lunchtime after we had breakfast. And he was telling me about how he's not allowed to trade because he has such a close eye on the analysis of these companies. Like, he's not allowed to trade in the sector of quantum and some of the other things he covers because he's an analyst. But hey, we're here. I'm an analyst. I'm right here on the front lines just getting the same information that that analyst is getting, but I'm able to trade live, and I'm also able to share with you. You can see my entries and my exits at Market Open, 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you want to join us in those live sessions, it's the second link in the description down below to watch me trade live. I would love to see you guys there. You get the technical analysis, the fundamental analysis. We go live every morning. There's even lifetime access to watch me trade live, which breaks down to like less than $1 today, or $1 a day with our current sale. So that's a huge sale happening down below. Second link, that's Stock Me. If you guys want to watch me trade live tomorrow at Market Open, there's some stuff happening that we're talking about in StockMate that's going to be maybe not covered here on the YouTube, but even so, if you're subscribed or you're having a good time, then regardless, there will be value here on the YouTube. Look at that bunny rabbit out there. I don't know if you can see him. He's hiding. Pretty good view out here in Scottsdale. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the conference. I appreciate you guys all. If I earned your thumbs up, hit that like button. Do consider subscribing. And again, if you want to watch me trade live, it's that second link in the description. I would love to see you there at Market Open. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.